Very soon, you're about to feel, as a consumer, as a customer, the content hit that is happening in Hollywood because the writer's strike evidently is going to happen for a while. And the last time it happened, content really suffered. There was an article recently in the New Yorker, Why Are TV Writers So Miserable? And the centerpiece of it joins us now. Alex O'Keefe is 28 years old, and he wrote for a really great show on FX that was a surprise, that won a lot of awards, The Bear. Fast-paced, makes you feel strong things. He was in the writer's room, and when I was reading the details of his experience, I was mortified, totally mortified on his behalf. So he's about to head out and go pick it. Alex, thank you for joining us. The details, without you're sharing these details that are personal, but basically you're having enormous success, and you're broke because they're not paying you anything. Like I cannot believe the details of what
happened. That was really mean. It just landed mean. It's like
I'm becoming famous for being broke, it feels like.
You're broke. Your hair is whack. Your clothes are whack.
Get out of here. Yeah, I mean, listen, that's what's been really amazing about this Hollywood experience. All that glitters is not gold. I think we all have dreams of what Hollywood looks like. Maybe it's, based on what it used to be like in the 50s or something. But in actuality, these studios, these historic studios like Warner Brothers that have been around for 100 years are now owned by giant corporations that, like, 6 corporations own 90% of the media industry. And they're tech companies. They're disruptors, they call themselves. And what they really disrupt is worker rights. I mean, Amazon spends $1 billion on a Lord of the Rings TV series. They can't pay their drivers. They can't give their drivers some time to go piss between their deliveries. And these same corporations own everything. And so they're putting the same mentality towards every single job in this economy. And writing is just the latest one to get the hit. Being turned from a career that you could build a middle-class life and build a family and put your kids through college, to a gig where, especially if you're young, if you're like me, if you're a Black writer, if you're indigenous, a writer from the working class or from poverty, these writers who are coming into Hollywood, a new wave, and bringing a new wave of creativity, making shows like The Bear or Abbott Elementary, Severance, shows that you just haven't seen something quite like that before, really innovative stuff, we're not being invested in whatsoever, because they know that, hey, they can make us feel lucky to have the gig, right? We've been negotiating in good faith with these studios, and they've just refused to negotiate on so many issues. And the stuff like, when I was working on The Bear, I was working on it from my apartment in Brooklyn, a tiny apartment. We had no heat. It was the pandemic winter. I had a little space heater underneath my desk, and sure, it gave me a lot of inspiration if you've watched the show. But in reality, it's not quite the escapism that viewers watch at home.
Alex, I'm curious. One of the quotes that you had in this New Yorker article was, "I learned from the masters that if you're given a shit sandwich, you can dress that up and make it a Michelin star level dish." What kind of advice have you received from the masters, and what do they say about kind of how you're experiencing, your first writing job on a TV series?
I mean, I think there's an expectation when you're young in the business that you have to grind, and it's not going to be, a red carpet's rolled out for you, and you're going to have, successes and failures and a lot of stuff in between. But yeah, I was surprised. I think we have the expectation, you go into a writer's room, you just dream together. Hey, what if Carmy said this? But in truth, especially the showrunners, the people at the top, the bosses, they have to deal with a lot of shit sandwiches handed down from studios. The studios don't understand how art works. They think of it as just a base product at the end. They try to make everything more efficient. And what they don't realize is that movies are extremely complicated to make. Television shows are extremely complicated to make. And, you can get these shit sandwiches. For example, The Bear was given very little time to shoot their episodes, like 3 days, which is very little to shoot a whole episode of television. Hey, episode 7, if you've watched it, it's all one take. They did that episode in 3 takes, So you can take whatever hand you're dealt and make it something great and beautiful and be grateful for it. but it also just puts so much strain on the workers. And while we know the celebrities in Hollywood, we don't realize that there are hundreds of workers behind the camera who make the thing operate. And what these corporations are realizing is that Hollywood is a union town. You know, this town is run by a league of unions that are all united, more united than ever before in our history, because every single worker in Hollywood, you talk to them, they're feeling the same thing. 98% of the writers of the Writers Guild of America voted to go on strike. That's the highest vote in our union's like 100-year history, because this is an existential time. And especially for writers, you see a lot of news outlets shuttering. You see a lot of news outlets going bankrupt. The professional writers going extinct, and they're trying to replace us with AI. Now, I think these CEOs at the top should be worried about being replaced by AI, because all they do all day is look at numbers, budgets, profits, and they forget that there's a humanity underneath all their capital. There's a humanity, and what we do, what I do, and if you watch the show The Bear, that takes heart and soul. It takes humanity to make that kind of thing. If you want to keep seeing that kind of content, that kind of art, you have to invest in the human beings that make it, and not let us be replaced by computers that will just churn out crap.
The aforementioned episode 7 of The Bear is one of the best episodes of television that I've ever seen. The tension is palpable. It should be noted because when we talk about this humanity, forgive the indelicacy of this question, Alex, but I want people to understand what you're fighting for here. The Bear won the WGA Award for Comedy Series. It went to the ceremony. Alex, went to the ceremony with a negative bank account and a bow tie that he had bought on credit. There are agency fees and taxes involved in Hollywood work. So this profoundly great work of art that you made, how much did you end up getting paid for your work on season 1 of The Bear?
Well, when my manager first called me, I was unemployed, and to send in a spec script and get hired on a show is basically unheard of these days. So I was grateful. He said, they're going to pay you maybe $43,000. I was like, 43,000. Oh my God. That's amazing. He said, whoa, Alex, hold up. That's not all your money. This is how Hollywood works. You got to pay me. You got to pay agent. You got to pay your dues. You have to pay into the union. You have to pay, because I was working in New York taxes, because they were working in California taxes, because, you know, the federal government wants a piece too. You got to pay them too. By the end of it, you know, I probably would have made more money actually working in the restaurant The Bear is based on than working on the television show. Oh I was like, how the hell? I must be doing this Hollywood shit wrong. How am I broke right now? Hey, I've talked to a lot of writers. I'm not the only one. The other thing is that this is not a salaried gig. We're working under a contract negotiated by our union, but we're basically freelancers. We work for nine weeks. I worked on The Bear. There are 52 weeks in the year. So you have to take whatever money you're able to get from whatever gig you're able to get and stretch it across an entire year, which is pretty hard to budget for. You don't know if you're going to get another gig. Nothing's guaranteed. You don't know if you're going to get another season, if your show's going to get canceled. So what we used to have is residuals. So if a show is really successful like The Bear, you would get a percentage every time someone watched it. Now writers are getting 7 cents in the mail, 8 cents in the mail. From shows that are huge, shows like Abbott Elementary, my friend Brittany getting 7 cents in the mail. So we're not able to survive between our gigs, and we're not seeing any percentage of our success. All we're asking for is 2% of Hollywood's profit. That's all we're asking for. If we got all of our demands in full, 2% of Hollywood's profit, and that's too much for them. We're asking for every writer, from Marvel to The Bear, every writer in America, if you paid all of us what we wanted, it would cost less than like 3 of the CEO's salaries put together. But there's just such an utter greed. And it results in somebody like me who should be living this amazing Hollywood dream, you know, walking in to get the award in a bow tie I bought on credit, in a suit I had to ask my brother and my fiance for money to get the suit, because you got to look the part. If you want to make $1 million, you got to look like $1 million. And I've realized even if you want to make $43,000, you got to look like $43,000. Half the time in my life, I look like $1.50, you know, because I don't got much. So you really, it's an image focused town. Okay, that's all I can say. I'm not Hollywood type. So I really learned they want you to look the part. You gotta have glowy skin, all that. Do drops on your skin. So all that costs a lot of money. They're not paying me enough to look the part right now. Hey, I'd love to, but yeah.
We know that you have to go to picketing, so I'll be quick with this question. In work stoppages that we've covered in sports, typically the unions are really strong at the top because they've got LeBron James and they have Chris Paul's, but those are outliers. The people that actually want to push things forward and actually get back to playing games are the people that are kind of in your position. My career is just getting going. I haven't made this huge nest egg. You're in a strike right now. You're feeling the loss of wages more than anybody. Are you doing anything to kind of make sure that you're not actually going to remain broke during this work stoppage so you can remain strong as a union?
Yeah, I mean, this is what the studios are banking on. They're banking on the pain of the lowest rung underclass of writers, the Black, Indigenous, writers of color, writers who come from the working class, writers who don't have family in the business. They're banking on us suffering so much that we're the ones who break the strike. Now, what's really amazing about the union right now is that across all the classes within the union, there's some writers who are making lots of money. There are some writers who are making basically nothing. We're all united. 98% voted to go on strike. That's rare. And what's also rare is that we have leadership that's really fighting for the rank and file, the lowest rung writers. So the people like me, we see that fight they're putting in every day. We're going to stick by them. And yeah, maybe we'll be broke during this strike, but honestly, I was broke working on the television show. So I don't feel like I'm losing out on much right now. Okay. So, I mean, I have a Venmo, Alex O'Keefe. You can send me a Venmo.
My guy.
I'm grinding. I'm hustling like any other person in this country.
Our audience does this very well. So go ahead. Alex O'Keefe is the Venmo. No, go ahead.
For real.
Give it up for real.
Give it up for real.
Alex O'Keefe on Venmo and Cash App. Yeah, send me what you can. Every dollar counts.
All right.
Congrats on securing that handle.
Thank you for being.
I know, right?
Thank you for being on with us. I think the leading question he was trying to ask you is if you were applying for other work elsewhere.
I'm applying for movie theaters and bookshops and whatever I can. Maybe the Taco Bell down the street. I'll do whatever I can. There's no shame in any of this work, and that's what I was really proud about with The Bear. All this work has value. If you're making sandwiches, make the best damn sandwich you can possibly make. All this work is essential, so there's no shame in doing service industry work, and I would gladly take it. It's just kind of hard to get these kinds of gigs when they look at your resume and they're like, you worked on The Bear. What are you doing here? It's like, no, I really need money. They don't get it, especially in Los Angeles, where I'm currently living. It's the dream for so many people. But, I'm going to grind and find a way. I'm a survivor, I don't need much. Now, I'd love to be rich, but I've never been rich. So this ain't nothing new for me. So I will survive this strike, and I'll come out stronger, more powerful, and I'll have an actual deal at the end that gets me paid as I deserve. So I got no worries about it. I know that we're going to be strong. We're going to win. We have to win.
It's Alex Okeefe on Venmo. So.
Alex,
Thank you.
I think our listeners are going to surprise you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Appreciate y'all. Y'all take care.